तिवारी जी भी हैं, एक और सुबोध जी हैं, आएंगे। Namaskar. I'm Kumar Akis and you're watching Global Governance News TV. Today we're going to discuss why crime and violence in politics in India and this is global phenomena, not in India and many parts of the globe. If you see, analyze, and find, and so we have just esteemed panelist Dr. R.P. Bhatt, a scholar and a social activist from the Germany, Hamburg, and we have Alok Laharji, a senior journalist from Spain, and other just all fellow panelists will join. Just Vandana ji from USA, senior journalist from Chicago, USA. So I'm giving you just intro. The rising violent crime is likely to present a political challenge in last going to be in the USA also. This is headlines news. This is of second 20 July 2021. This is the reports of the American papers and how just President Biden hosted a White House meeting reducing the gun violence on July 12th. Violent crime is on rise in many U.S. urban areas, and the Democratic political strategists also believe White House needs to take an issue of crime directly. This same scene in India. Recently, you have seen the Lakhimpur Kheri, how just some in name of the farmers, how they have just what 8 9 persons already killed, we can say. Somebody is saying murder, somebody is killing, and like that, so many things. Number two. Number three, if you see the Pakistan violence, the crime is going to be take place in the politics. Is it necessary or not? It should be or not? Why it is? That is also important. So we'll see like that. So actually, just how, why, and why should be just crime and violence and politics. So we are going to discuss now. We have from just Dr. R.V. Bhatt, as an academician and a scholar, how just you analyze the scene globally as well as in India. Dr. Bhatt.
Namaskar, Rakesh ji and other esteemed panelists. Um, well, thanks for inviting me to this interesting discussion. Violence and politics and crime. I think they are all these terms are not new to politics, especially. If you look at the history of ruling, invading, and politics, then you find always there was violence. And in fact, if you go into depth, I mean, we are talking about collective society, we are talking about largest democracies, we are talking about dictatorship and so on and so forth. But one can just start it at from the family and from different angles. So what usually is talked about that there are few things that triggered violence, and first of all is of course the emotions, which are which play a very major role in causing the violence, and why emotions are enraged. There are the many factors. In case of India, particularly, of course, we have various factors. First of all, I think, is religion. Religious sentiments are so strong that the people kind of, if I'm allowed to use the great Hindi poets, Agyeji's words, that people fall in, kind of fits. They forget everything. And he says that in terms of when India was divided, partition took place, and if you read his poetries, He wrote one poetry sometime, I think it was exactly on 24th of October 1947, and these are four lines I read out. आज जाने किस हिस्र डर ने देश को बेखबरी से डस लिया, संस्कृति की चेतना मुरझा गई, मिर्गी का दौरा पड़ा, इच्छा शक्ति बुझ गई. So, I mean, when you forget your, this culture and your duty and your, relation and everything, then of course violence is there. But in cases like Kiri, what happened yesterday or day before yesterday in Uttar Pradesh, it has, as far as I understand, uh, you know, mainly political reasons, but behind these political reasons, I think there are also not within the country, but outside of the country as well. I don't want to reveal here, but I have to come to know that only from one or two places, I'm talking about very small town, almost over millions of euros have been transferred to India just because to support this so-called farmers movement. I don't know whether it is exactly farmer movement because we are still researching on it. And but what happened in Uttar Pradesh, this cannot be termed as farmers movement because if you look at it, acrivish, systematically, what happened and what is happening, we have seen a lot of videos. Then you come to know, or one can analyze, or come to to the conclusion that there is something which has been pre-planned, and people have been attacked on purpose just to disturb the peace that is for some reason, for good reasons, in such a huge state like Uttar Pradesh, where almost 220 million people are living. I mean, many European countries, yeah, and then it was going on quite smoothly, and all of a sudden such things are happening. It is definitely because of elections, and this may be the reason, but behind that, I think I understand there are politicians, there are religious factors, there are fringe elements, and there are secessionist powers as well. So I think one has to analyze them separately, but we don't have time for that. But it's very serious, I think. Rakesh.
Microphone.
Ramji, do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do hear you. Yes. Am I allowed to say a
Yeah,
few
okay.
more things? And then
Welcome Rakesh Tiwari. Welcome Rakesh Tiwari. Just waiting for him. Just from Toronto. So Alok ji, actually this is a theoretical questions also as well as practical question also. That's why I put this discussion. Do you think without the violence and crime, politics can't be deal with the public? This is a misuse of the public. Why the politicians using the crime and violence just to win for them, just for the public, just to harass the public in other way and a diplomatic way?
Is that the question for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rakeshji, and good evening to all viewers and the panelists. I mean, crime, violence, and politics.
Politics.
I mean,
Yeah.
ever since humanity has existed, these things have gone hand in hand. I mean, earlier, who was the most powerful king? The most powerful king was who could unleash violence on the neighboring country or the faraway country. And, you don't have to think about this. This goes hand in hand. There's a struggle. It could be a bloody struggle. It could be a power struggle. So it is always like that. It is unfortunate that we still have those. The form has changed, but in the essence, it remains the same. Like for example, even when political parties have their internal struggles, that who is going to come up and not. There also, for example, we've seen it in Punjab right now. Like the struggle, fortunately, it was not violent, but then the inner party struggle is also there, that you're ousting somebody and you're getting in somebody, so that there's some kind of violence is inbred into the political system, which is like this. Humans are like that. It is unfortunate, but that is true. And I think in the animal kingdom also, for supremacy, the two males, they are going to fight, and who is going to drive the one from the herd out. So I'm not a very idealist person, so to say, and I think it is inbred into it. Now, if we see India, if we talk about, let's say, ancient India, we can start away with, our two big epics. If we talk about Ramayana and Mahabharata, they are also wars. Why? And if we talked about the international epics also, if we talk about Iliad and there also it's about war only. So it's power struggle, war. This is inbred into it. Now, if we see now, we don't have to go to Ashoka the Great and then come down till this. Let's say our neighboring countries. What happened in Afghanistan? There's this bunch of people who are violent people, and they throw away a government which has been voted to power, and they are in power. So what is that? That is also violence. They have come into power through violence. Now, it looks like that some people in India also think that they can get into power using some kind of violence. Now, the grade of violence and the quality of violence, and that can change, but it is inbred into the system. Like, it is unfortunate. We have this democratic. What is good about a democratic system is that you don't have to go out and kill people. You use the ballot as the power of the people, and then you go and vote your elected person. That is how it should be done. Now, but before that happens, for example, if we're talking about, let's say, violence or, inter-party struggle which was there in Punjab, that is because Punjab is a state which is going to go into polls very soon, and same is going to happen in Uttar Pradesh. We were talking about that. And if you see the past history also, like, for example, if we talk about 84, we've had this huge massacre in 84, and you can talk that politicians are there who have a violent background. But even if let's say we talk about elections in United States of America, what happened on the Capitol Hill was a symbolic type of violence there. There were people killed there. Now, this is going to happen wherever the elections are there, because basically a war or getting into a struggle is he's a good king or he's a bad king, or he's a good ruler, he's a bad ruler. That is the perception which is created. So for creating such a perception, if everything is going fine, if everything is going well, and you create a scene like this, which then obviously the press is going to harp on, and then you create a perception. So it's a war of perception. And again, when I say it's a war of perception, I'm using a word which is war, which means violence is inbred into that system. Like, it's human. You cannot do anything about it. Like, this is how struggle for power works on this planet Earth. It is unfortunate, but it is like that. So that is on a very broader account. I'm telling you what I think about the title of your show.
Okay. So just you're talking about the ballot and use of ballot, and it had been seen in place of the ballot, bullet is also using in different way, either in India or other parts of world also. Vandana ji, if you see the organized crime and violence, just in political parties, the criminal organization capture the part of the polity just to the power. Captured politicians then distort the allocation of public investment towards the area of influence of the organization, and they promote leniency activism. And how the criminal groups take over the points of power.
See, namaskar and good morning to everybody. As we're talking about, this is a very important subject. But the only thing we have to see, this has not happened over a period of time. This has been infiltrating inside gradually. And now it is very sad to see that you just mentioned, we are seeing it in the last 48 hours or a little bit over in Bharat itself, Lakhimpur. If you just see the whole episode itself, I mean, just go and realize in chronicle order, like when Supreme Court has already given an order that there should not be any protests on the roads. So what is taking these administrations, let this be local administrations, means like you may find a sympathy for the people, those whom you're calling as a fake farmers, and I call them a fake farmers, to be very honest. This is my perspective. Because if these people are sitting almost like it's going to be 12 months, and they do have their supporters in the foreign countries also. So who's taking care of the farms at this point of time? And politics, as well as, like, when we say the crime, how do crime overtakes? And the recent example we have seen in Afghanistan and Taliban. So is this a setting of a precedence, a new precedence, that you're going to be ruling with the bullet now? Means power with the terror. And earlier it was soft, but now it is very, very bold. Power with an AK-47, power with, like, so these kind of things, like, we cannot ignore. It has, democracy has become a big sham, to be honest. Just we're calling it a democracy. But is it a democracy? We have to see, introspect ourselves, like in what world that we are heading to. Means so the laws are made, the administrations, like, let this be a Bharat administration, which has been like 303 with the majority it has come. So where the judiciary has to speak, the judiciary doesn't speak. Because, and then when if judiciary has given some orders, so it is the role of an administration to make sure that that has been fulfilled. So there is no balances. Recently you are seeing this has become a biggest joke, like, when we talk about the crimes, like how I was just listening while coming, the people are so very sure. They say, oh yeah, this drug thing in Mumbai, the Bollywood right now, oh, this will just be an eye wash itself, because what has happened to the previous ones, those who were caught, and that is it the common people? So all kind of things, like, we have to come out and discuss it publicly. As you picked up, this is a subject, it is a very concerned subject. What kind of world that we are leaving for our future generations? Because we have to clean up. 2 days before that, Bharat has the Swachh Bharat, then that, what you call it, on the October 2nd. So it is a need to have a Swachh world, to be honest. It is very, very critical. We saw what happened in the US politics last year. We are just, means, after that there was, oh, these were not the Trump supporters, like, so no, because the time passes, and then all these queries, what the result comes. So these are fooling people over a period of time. It's very, very sad. Which kind of world that we are living in? It should have been more like, yesterday everybody noticed, no Facebook, no WhatsApp, no Instagram. So somebody commented, oh, India slept well. So I said, oh, US worked very well. Means, like, because we are seeing it, productivity versus, so those kind of things. Because do we control ourselves with this instruments that we have, the devices? Do we control ourselves? No, we don't. So it is need of today's time. Like, it is a very, means, like, it's a really very, very sad situation that we are discussing. It should not have been. Why? Because, and this polarization is taking so much. Everyone is talking about, oh, this is now that 786 victim card they will be playing, or because he was caught because he is Muslim. Come on, stop saying that. There were previous, those who were held. So that is what we are trying to bring politics in everything, and which is very, very ugly. Administration has to do its own role very strong, to be honest. Otherwise, there is no point of democracy. Let this be a China way. Thank you. I'm done. तिवारी जी आप म्यूटेड हैं.
Kumar Rakesh ji, are you there?
Froze है उनका. If you see that, it is.
It's like,
Yeah.
I hope he knows. And his voice
So why
is...
don't we do one thing? Like we would like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, continue.
Dr. Tiwari
You
ji.
can
Ask me.
You already know the
Be a
question.
host. Be a
So what
host.
is your
Be a host. Ask.
view on what is happening in India and in the world
Well,
regarding
the
like the
okay.
topic which is there, the violence which
See,
is creeping up into politics?
well, violence and
Crime and politics, the relationship of the crime and
well,
politics. Let's talk about that.
yeah, that crime and politics. So put it this way, crime in my understanding is as the law and the people who govern the law and who are at the power center, they decide it. So that's why we know that in one term, a lot of people, be it in India, be it other places, in democracy we are talking about, that they become criminals. When the other party comes, they have been given a clean sheet. So crime, you can say that our violence and politics goes hand to hand together. Let's just accept it, not live in some ideal world of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, whose birthday was just passed away. That this is the way, and that should be somewhere in some utopian world. So let's accept it. Morally should be there? No, not necessarily. In ideal world, it should not be there, where everybody should be discussing with love, with the care and respect. But this is something should be in the movies and some plays and some storybooks and some novels. That's good. But reality is this: nowhere, never ever in the history of humankind, whenever we talk about it, the power means that's the center of politics. When we talk about the politics cannot be done, or there is without power. So the politics means, in my understanding, grabbing the power whatever you can. Okay, so even you have to do the camouflage of being peaceful and having the slogan of peace and non-violence and truth and all kind of gibberish, you can name it. That's different. But in practical world, let's put it this way, and we can see that. I'll give you some examples. Vandana ji has given the example of Trump. Whatever that march happened, and all those people went over there. And yes, in USA too, Gandhi is there. Gandhi's statues there all over the world, and now that is getting thrown off too. But coming back to Bharat, just few days back, look at it. All the politicians, they are going to the Gandhi's samadhi over there, and they are all pledging that non-violence, and everybody is talking. So public knows too that they are just trying to make us fool, but they know that they are not fool. They say their job is to say the way it is. Now, let me give you an example of the Haryana's chief minister, who's saying this. Of course, on 2nd of October, he must have praised the Gandhi like anything else. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi, and his great and non-violence and the Gandhi, God knows whatever he said. And then he said, well, let's take some dandas. Let's take some dandas and give the befitted reply. Okay, and same way for Congress too. You can see that. I'm talking about in India. So let's get out from the utopian world and accept it in matured, I will say, up to a limit. In a mature democracy, usually people do not take matters in their own, but self-defense, defending yourself and your loved one, that's your birthright. Even an animal has it. God Almighty has given them the power. The skunk which goes has a power of giving a reply if you go close to it. So the smell, you guys know about the skunk, right? I'm more afraid to him than anything else. Okay, whenever he passes by, I go a bit far behind from there, and everybody. So the point is this: accepting it and embracing it, and then going forward is much better. other than that, denying and living, staying in some ideal utopian world is a reality, and how to take it more further steps so where the law and order can take place. And even those people who are in law and order, so I will say they are using violence. Okay, we know that the very people who have the power, who have been given the all kind of tools, be it guns, be it stakes, be it all those kind of things, and they are supposed, and they get in the violence, and they get into the crime. So my submission to the end, I will say, accepting that reality of the democracy is this: whosoever gets power, we are going to utilize it this way or that way. The so-called philosophy of it, that if somebody hits you on your
Tiwari ji,
it's not
I
possible.
think, do you just hear me? Tiwari,
Well, looks like your voice is not coming clear, Kumar Rakesh.
do you hear me?
I can hear you
Tiwari ji?
very well. Please go ahead and speak. Say.
No, do you hear me? Just my
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear
Yes,
you.
yes, yes.
Yes, yes. I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So no, as you say, the tools of the democracy and how just democracy going to accept, Ramji.
Kumar Rakesh ji's net is. I have just, with the force I have submitted there. My problem is gone there to him. He was commenting every time on me that Mr. Tiwari, your Canada net is not working, that, this, and that. Okay, so that's different. Okay, so Ramji,
He's traveling, actually. He mentioned, right? He's
and let's put
traveling
it
his
this
net
way:
in.
means when we talk about the violence, without violence, you cannot have it. Like violence is not. Yeah, violence is important in order to have a rule of law. Okay,
No,
you
no,
cannot
no,
give
no.
a
Sorry for the poor network. I think on some hilly area. So, how just Rakesh Tiwari is trying to define the realities, but that is not the reality. What we are going to advocate, Ramji, do you think there is a essential thing is the crime and violence? Without crime, violence, politics can't be do any place, Ramji?
Unmute yourself, please, Ramji.
Thank you, Rakesh. Hopefully, the network will, work properly. Yes, the interesting
Yeah.
question, and I think all panelists have given a wonderful, description of violence and politics and
Yeah.
struggle of, behind that. Well, the question is what you said, whether there can be politics without violence. And when we look at this or try to answer this question, there are, I would say, well, yes or no, in some sense. Yes, because if you try to categorize the politics in different categories, let me put in perception like the Indian politics and the German politics, for example, or in Europe. And we may talk about the physical violence and the somebody abuses somebody or there is something indirectly. These things are very important. What is striking in India and in whole South Asia, in fact, that is the physical violence, which is unacceptable. I think this should not happen. This should not have any place in politics at all, because the politicians.
But we're going to discuss the criminal violence, the crime and violence, criminal violence. How that they're trying to use the power by the so-called politicians.
Yes, I'm
Last 10
going.
years, last 10 years in India, that is data, 109% the criminal has came in the politics.
Yes, that I was going
Either
to
assemblies and
talk about.
parliaments.
I was going to talk about that, but let me
Please,
say a few
please.
things before that. You see, if you look at, I mean, there is a lot of research has been done on violence in the family, violence in the groups, violence in regions, and violence at the universities. The problem in Indian society is, if you look at the history, whole history, I'm talking about social and cultural history of South Asia and religious history of South Asia, you find that there has been, I mean, lot of violence, ever since you read the history, let me say about 14th century onwards, a lot. And then you come to, you get the independence, and there is no, proper planning in that sense, that how the country and the people should, what paths people should take. There was no social education, and there was no work was done on your cultural memory. So this is what that is always striking back, because there is no sense of this community in that sense, if you look at the minor level. Because one example I want to give you, I was in about 2014, I may say, in Palika Bazar in Delhi, and I saw that people had put in nice benches there in the park. They were completely new, and next morning when I went there, they were broken and some of them were taken away. So that is what I'm talking about. People do not feel related to this, the state, the community, and the country as a whole. Because what happens, the individual interest and individual fear actually also behind that is so powerful that these objects have no meaning at all. So that's where the violence and crime begins. And then you look at what is happening, these rape cases and problems within the families. These must be also looked at. But in politics, the major problem is that there is no ethical and moral responsibility anymore. Even if you compare the politicians of 70s and 80s with the politicians of today's, then there is a huge difference. What is basically happening?
You're nicely, yeah, Ramji, you're nicely put the question morality and politics. Vandana ji, just very briefly, just take the 20 seconds to each, and last I'll take the Ramji. Vandana ji, morality and politics. Do you think the morality politics can go together at present? Vandana ji?
Can go together. Yes, it can go together, but is it going together? No, it is not going together. There is a difference. You asked, can go together? Yes, it can go together, but now they always say, is it going? No, it is not, because you cannot survive otherwise with this. The people, those who are, because you just see very handful means, and then they don't survive in the politics. They don't survive. Their survival is very, very difficult, because we have made it so very corrupt. You said 20 seconds, mine are over. I think he'll be asking the same question. Rakesh ji, you can go, and then Alok ji, because his...
Alok ji, are you going to answer? Are you going to go ahead, or I should?
I'm thinking about something like what we've both done, Tiwari ji, you and I. Like, we've kind of justified violence in politics, which is inherent, which is okay. But should it be there? I don't think it should be there. And ideally, what is happening is the question which we were asking is the criminalization of politics. Now, that is a bad factor which is happening. What is happening is that lots and lots, especially when we talk in the context of India. I mean, there are leaders, for example, if we talk about Rajiv Gandhi, he was not per se a criminal. He was a gentleman politician. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I've got no bones about, cutting that thing. But what happened? What happened while he was, before he was brought into power and everything? And what happened when he talks about the big tree falling off and so many people are killed? Violence is there. So should it be, we're talking, like you said, it is very utopian. No, unfortunately, what is happening is from utopian, it is becoming utopian. I hope I'm able to make myself understand. Like, now the social media and the usage of social media, and there was this leak which we were talking about 2 days ago. That is, now social media has become, for example, this leak which was there from Facebook, they are talking about how, they are using certain parameters so that more violent content is there. Because when you talk on a psychological level, inciting violence or anger in people is far more easier than making them calm or making them understand things and all that. So peace is not business. Peace is not business. Violence is business. Either you selling, warmongering, or you selling your armaments. This is business. Should it be like this? Is it happening? For example, if we talk about Canada, not so much violence is there, but Sabes said that violence is not there in the pollings. If we talk about, let's say, Spain, France, and all that, maybe certain people are there who are going to give a slap or throw stones. These are very minor incidents which are there. But when people are killed, a journalist is killed, a driver is killed, or a farmer is killed, and people, you see videos of people using sticks to break open the head of other people. This type of violence in the land of Gandhi, and especially after we've celebrated 2nd of October, is absolutely unacceptable. Is it organized? Are certain people, social engineering happening behind all this thing? I don't know, but this is not acceptable. So although it is inherent, when we become more and more human, then that's the reason we chose, ballot over bullet. Are we going to get back into this? So we can do another program on, say, let's say, criminalization of politics. That's a different, altogether different issue.
Very, very big
Should
subject.
certain things be
India,
like this?
for India,
For
in last
example,
50
has the
years,
government,
it has been
been
easy.
very lenient with the farmers, or they have mishandled it, or what? That could be another program. But from my point of view, when I started, we were talking about the history of politics and all that, how it has happened in the medieval ages. But we are in the 21st century. We have discovered or invented, or whatever you want to call it, whichever country it did, that you can win or put a person in power not using the bullet but the ballot. And I think that is what democracy is about. And if we are not doing it, I think democracy, the ballot, has been ransacked by a few, which is the criminalization of politics. That is unfortunate. Kumar Rakesh.
Just now, actually, time is also trying to just sort it, and network is also poor. So I try
But
to take
Tiwari is left for his opinion.
No, I think Tiwari ji, just I think 20 seconds we can take, which is that you and Ramji. Mike, just I'm reading. I'm just 2 lines. I'll give you, and I'll take 20 words. So you can just like editor or expert, you can edit like anything or whatever is trying to communicate. So this is one extreme. Crimes such as treason, sedition, and terrorism are political because they represent a direct challenge to the government in power. Spenders is also usually considered as a political crime, but offenders do not have to aim to overthrow the government and to depose the leaders to be acting in a way perceived as political. So, on these cases, target is politics, political leaders. Whom are the political leaders? That is a matter of the long discussion. So, how the political and crime connected to each other? Why it is? Do you think, but both of you, do you think it will be sometimes disconnect? Very brief.
It's not
Is
the
it
question of
possible or not?
it is not the question of disconnect, and my good friend Alok Ladji is there, but he raised some serious questions, and yes, indeed, that requires another discussion and debate.
Sir, very briefly, sir. We have only just 40 seconds. Yeah.
Yes, you're
Left.
taking my 5 seconds on it. Now,
Please,
my
no, sir. One second,
humble
please.
point is this: that
Please.
I am totally against criminalization of politics, and just because of the power, and that's what is happening all across the world. Really, in my humble understanding, we really have to find one example where these elements are not there. Maybe they are not at the surface, but at the hidden level, somewhere they are there. So yes, democratic reforms, democracy, when it become ultimate best solution for ruling the world, it has a lot of loopholes, and that loopholes allows the criminals to enter into the politics and criminalization of the law enforcement agencies. These are the serious matters should be handled, because if somebody by
Sir, my question was
manhandled
different.
by the
You answered in different way. My question was different.
well, yes,
Very,
I'm
very
answering
small
differently.
question. Very small question. Ramji, just do you think the politics and crime will we disconnect? Can we disconnect? Should we disconnect one for the society?
Yes, Rakesh, I think, of course, it can be, but not completely. This would be, I think, then, what we say, ideal situation, which is almost impossible in a country like India, because you have so many ethnical,
No, many
issues.
parts of no, many parts of globe also. Just the gun violence is the big challenge to the America
Yes, I
also,
thought
and
we
so
were
so
talking
many
more in
political
terms of
also
India.
challenge the Germany and other parts of the world.
I
Yeah,
live in the
Please.
gun capital of the world, actually,
yeah,
city
and
Chicago.
because I was thinking that we are talking in terms of India, but of course, as a whole, it is almost impossible whether you look at China or India, US, or elsewhere
Got
in
it.
Africa.
Thank
Or,
you.
yeah,
So
but it is possible.
I think thank you, Ramji. I think all panelists on the same mode. It is impossible to the disconnect, and it would not be practically. Theoretically, we can say and discuss whatever we can, but reality and practically it can't be disconnected, and it can be go an other way. So nice of you, just participate in the program. And Alok Lahaji said that criminalization of politics will be the organized other discussion for the with all elaboration of all the inputs. Thank you very much. Just you attended and participated in the program of Global Governance News. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Yeah.